We're not live, and it's not Saturday night, but let's do this anyway. Hey everyone, welcome to Prince the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with some Saturday Night Live videos from their donation reward for Isabel. Sorry, my mind was blanking for a moment there. Isabel. So we have three videos. There were more that were requested, but we'll get to those in at another time. But we're doing three today. We have Almost Pizza, Weekend Update Cecilia Jimenez on ruining a portrait of Jesus, and a Thanksgiving miracle, which is pretty fitting for the time of year considering American Thanksgiving, U.S. Thanksgiving, is this month. So, I have seen plenty, I would say, of Saturday Night Live. I've seen entire shows, I've seen a lot of clips randomly strewn about, and because of that, it's like I'm very aware of the kind of humor that this show entails. Sometimes it can be very ridiculous, sometimes it can be very mocking towards pretty much any kind of political party or whatnot. It's it does tend to be a little more left leaning on average, but it does make fun of the left as well. And unlike some programs out there where it's like, oh, we make fun of everybody, but we're just going to be, crass and stupid and immature about it. This is a show that kind of makes fun of everybody in a more respectful way. It's like it's mocking people, but not in a way to where it's like they're just like being mean and, crass and cruel and whatnot. Because a lot of these shows that like kind of go on the idea that they make fun of everyone, it's like they're just being bigoted and hateful and just pieces of shit. You can mock and make fun of people without being bigoted pieces of shit. And that's my problem with stuff like South Park. It's like, yeah, they make fun of everyone equally, but they're terrible about it. They don't do it in a, respectful, fun way. They're just being pieces of shit and being as crass and crude as possible. It's immature and not funny. And I know that's subjective, but I'm stating my opinion here. This, on the other hand, again, is a show that makes fun of people, but doesn't do it in a disrespectful way. Sorry for the sniffling, by the way. I have like some sinus issues going on. Nothing else, no other issues. Just, sometimes my nose is a little stuffy, sometimes it's a little runny. And it's annoying to deal with. But I'm otherwise fine, so no worries there. So yeah, I much prefer this to other stuff like that because it handles it so much better and actually makes it funny without having to rely on, like, immature, crude humor. Which I also just appreciate on multiple levels. But yeah, so let's talk about the ones we're going into today, because I have no idea if I've seen them or not. It's just a matter of, like, with the random clips I see here and there of this show, I just don't know. So the first one is called Almost Pizza. I assume it's going to involve someone making pizza and it, like, not quite being there, or, like, being off in terms of what actually constitutes a pizza. Something like that. The second one is Weekend Update, which is a specific type of skit they have on SNL. and it's called Cecilia Jimenez on Ruining a Portrait of Jesus. So I'm not 100% sure who the character of Cecilia Jimenez is. I might have seen her before, but Ruining a Portrait of Jesus. That could go down a number of paths, and I'm very curious as to what they're going to be. Because that could be like really funny depending on the context they give to it. And the final one is a Thanksgiving miracle. So obviously a play on a Christmas miracle, just for Thanksgiving instead. I assume something miraculous is going to happen during a Thanksgiving dinner or something. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, I don't know exactly what to expect with this. I'm hoping for some really good, funny stuff. But we're just going to find out. So let's get into this, hope for the best, and see what these three skits have in store. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And don't forget about the gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day. We have Horizon Forbidden West every Monday and Friday. Tuesdays and Thursdays is Life is Strange Double Exposure. And Wednesdays and Sundays is Beyond Two Souls. On Saturdays, we have both Poppy Playtime and Nier Automata. And on top of that, don't forget to click the link in the description below to get to today's reaction. I redirect everything just due to copyright. You know how it is. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you want to see more awesome content such as this. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, let's get to today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, let's talk about these in order. So, Almost Pizza, obviously a play on DiGiorno with the entire tagline of it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno and everything. And this was kind of playing on that idea with it's like it's almost pizza, but technically it's not. And it never explicitly says like why it's not pizza, like what exactly makes it not pizza. But then at the end, like the slice is dropped, it shatters, reconstitutes, starts crawling around, and it's like, what? It turned into some kind of horror movie out of nowhere. But yeah, it definitely got the joke across while also escalating to a unexpected degree. And I think that that allows it to work pretty well. Then we have the weekend report, which was, let me make sure I get the name right here. Cecilia Jimenez on Ruining a Portrait of Jesus. This could have gone a couple different routes, but it was specifically touching on the real life thing of like this supposed ancient portrait of Jesus that was restored, and the restoration looked kind of like silly and ridiculous and everything. This was a real life thing. Had been going around on social media, especially because of course social media would run with something like that. And yeah, it was interesting because I think most people have like come to realize that like this typical viewpoint of Jesus that we've had is just actively false. The typical view on what we always like perceive Jesus to look like this big, practically white person with the long flowing brown hair and the very well kept beard. It's like that's just not realistic to the time period or the location and everything. Jesus would not have been like white or even near white. He would be a brown skinned man from that geologic area. And on top of being Arabic and whatnot, his hair more than likely would not be as well kept and perfectly flowy and whatnot. Might not have even been that long. The beard would not have been as well kept. There's been interpretations of what he might have actually looked like, and it's nothing like the stereotypical. And I thought it was going to touch on something like that. That was kind of where my mind was going, but instead, like I said, it touched on this very specific restoration story. Um, so yeah, that was a thing. And the interpretation art of Seth Meyers as well was pretty funny. A fun little addition that they didn't really need to do, but was a really enjoyable addition this uh, to this skit. Um, but then we had Thanksgiving Miracle, and this one was the weirdly enough, I would say the most absurd one. Like, yes, even more so than the, living almost pizza thing. Um, because at least that was like absurd and crazy in a way to where it's like it kind of fit with everything else going on. It's like, oh, this is almost pizza, and it being super mysterious about what that means and everything. So it's like, okay, it's a crazy progression, but still a natural progression into that. Here, it's just like, what? So I get the idea with this, with Thanksgiving Miracle. It's about, family talking about politics and arguing and stuff at the dinner table. This is something that so many people talk about, like on social media and whatnot, about not wanting to go back and see their family because of stuff like that, or like even putting like a hard stop to stuff like that at their Thanksgiving table, telling their family they can't do that, that they're not allowing that. And it's definitely something that I I feel like people just don't understand why this happens. Because here's the thing. When families or even a lot of times friends get together, this is what they do. They talk about things happening in their lives. They talk about things that are, relevant that they haven't been able to about since the last time they met with each other. That's what a lot of people do. And I have never understood this personally because I'm not a talkative person in real life. I don't like to talk about stuff like that, and I don't understand the point of talking about stuff like that. It's like, I honestly don't care what happened at your job 3 weeks ago. I don't care. Because it doesn't involve me. It doesn't matter to me. It's not something that's relevant. And I'm not saying that people, like, especially at, like, Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatnot, need to be, like, quiet and just sitting there staring at each other. But it's like, talking about stuff like this just, I don't feel like makes a lot of sense either. So, I understand the idea behind this and the annoyance of having to deal with family who does this. But then you have the absurdity of it. So, the girl goes over to this CD player and turns on Adele, and suddenly, without warning, everybody there starts singing in black and white, and eventually kind of recreating the music video for the song. Um, and they're, you know, just it's silly, it's fun. They're wearing wigs and fake nails and stuff, and the thing is, it's not like they're suddenly getting along because when at the points when it stops, they go right back into it, and then the music has to be played again. So it's not like they're getting along. It's just that they're being kind of forced into not talking about politics by being literally forced into participating in this flash mob esque song and dance against their will. And it's like, okay. And the more it goes on and the more it happens, it gets like crazier and crazier with like the different outfits and sets and whatnot. Eventually, they're not even in the house anymore. And it's just like, I don't entirely understand why. One, why Adele? Maybe this came out when that song was really big still. Um, but also it's like, why this as like the way to stop the Thanksgiving arguing? It's like it's absurd enough to where there is a level of humor to it, but it's just like it's also absurd enough to where I'm just kind of like stunned watching it. I'm not really laughing. Um, and I guess it's like interesting some of the topics they touch on, like, oh, I'm voting for Ben Carson. It's like, what? Ben Carson never really was a candidate. He was running to be a candidate, unless they're talking about like voting for him in the preliminaries. But aren't the preliminaries normally like early November? Or actually, maybe even earlier. I think they're August or maybe September. I don't know. They're before the actual voting, so they would have already happened by the time Thanksgiving came along. And hell, by the time Thanksgiving came along as well, like actual voting would be over. So it's like, when would you be voting for Ben Carson unless that was like the Thanksgiving before? And again, he never actually like made it to past the preliminaries for anything. Um, but on top of that, there's like talk about transgender people and stuff in there, and very stereotypical difference of opinion regarding that based on and I say opinion with air quotes, based on like generation and whatnot. And it's just like, okay. Again, I get it. You're touching on topics that people would like bring up, and you're showing how like out of touch some people would be in that regard when talking about it. But it's just like, all right. It seemed like pretty random, honestly. Um, if I had to say which of these was my favorite, I would probably say Almost Pizza, because it was absurd in the right way to where it's like I wasn't just sitting there like kind of stunned. I was actually really enjoying it, how crazy it got, especially when everything started happening. It's like, why did it shatter? Why did it reconstitute? Why is it crawling? It's like I was having fun with that. And it's just, that's kind of what I'm looking for with with SNL. I want a skit that it's just like is ridiculous and silly, but something I can just have fun watching. Um, I would probably say the Portrait of Jesus one was my least favorite. It just it wasn't as funny, it wasn't as interesting as I thought it was going to be, and I just feel like there's more interesting things they could have done with that concept. But again, a lot of times when SNL is doing these skits, they touch on current topics, and obviously when this came out, that was a big topic that was all over the internet. So they wanted to touch on that. But I feel like there's a lot of different possibilities that could have made this better, personally. So, oh well, nothing I can do about it. But Yeah, that was probably my least favorite of the three. It wasn't really that absurdist either. It was just kind of like making fun of like how the art ended up looking and whatnot, and it's like it wasn't that funny, to be fair. But all of that being said, tell me in the comments below what was your favorite of these three skits. And like I said, we'll be having more SNL skit stuff in the future. But in the meantime, thank you all so much, as always, for watching. Thank you to Isabel for donating. I'm Connie. I'm signing off. See y'all next time.